What's up, party people? I am in the Los Angeles area, actually with one of my relatives very close to the LA airport. So I'm here doing a few things to help a couple of people that was in the queue for a while. However, I need a little help if you can. I'm looking for somebody that has maybe a parts car or a parts engine that they're not using. If not, I'm gonna have to go to the junkyard and pull this stuff. I need a inner timing belt cover, outer timing belt cover, top timing belt cover for a engine, 850 engines. I need a few exhaust valves from a cylinder head. At home, I have a couple of cylinder heads. Whenever I take a head off of a car and it has a couple of valves that are not good, I'll replace those valves. Well, I got a valve I need to replace in a head right now. I don't have a cylinder head that has a couple valves in it. If nobody in the area has a head laying around that was warped or had a burnt valve or whatever that I can get a couple of valves out of, I'm gonna have to go to the salvage yard, pull a cylinder head just to get a couple of valves. I'll do it if I got to, but I really don't want to. And I don't have a valve cutting tool to buy new valves and start cutting valves. I'm not going to do that. So anyway, if you have a cylinder head laying around that you're going to replace the valve stem seals in and pull one off another car, I'd appreciate it. And then again, those timing belt covers. Now, I'm also looking for someone that's maybe in the, I believe, Appleton, Wisconsin area that can look at a car for me. Thinking about getting a car to help somebody out, and if somebody's in that Appleton, Wisconsin area, that's, not too far from Green Bay, let me know, call or text me. If you got a few minutes to go glance at a car for a few minutes, I'd appreciate it. I'm just mainly wanting to know that the car's not rusted out and the paint's not peeling off the car. It's kind of the thing I'm looking for. And I can help you out with a few bucks if you got time to go check that out for me. So, appreciate you guys. If you're in the LA area, you want to do a meet and greet or something like that, let me know. Thanks for watching today's clips. Have a great day. Welcome to Hanging Out with Robert, that's me. This video contains things that I encounter throughout the day. If for some reason I complete a task and you would like to see the details, you could click on the link in the description area below. This video also contains tips and tricks that I learned throughout the years. I plan on leaving this video accessible for about 30 days. After that, you can view it through my Patreon account. Thank you very much for watching. I am about to head to Los Angeles. I got 23.3 mile average with my old turbo. I'm going to reset that and see what I get with my new turbo. Folks, here we are with the dad bod V70 T5M. At some point, somebody put a 99 head on this vehicle, and I don't know if something went wrong or if somebody overheated it somewhere along the way, because he's never really been able to keep cooling in it, and it's gradually been getting worse. Now it's blowing smoke out the back end. It's cracking caps. It's splitting caps. It's oozing coolant out of them. Missing the inner timing belt cover. And the only way he could get it to kind of run good was to put green injectors on, even though it hadn't been tuned for green injectors. But we're going to put a head on there. Take that head, had it resurfaced. I'm going to put new valve stem seals in it, and we're going to install it on this block. So I'm getting ready to rip all this stuff out, and if I do that, I'm going to have to get a bracket for the driver's side of this head to put the standard cylinder head back on it. So I'll probably go to a salvage yard, get an inner cover, get that bracket to get this thing back together. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and start tearing this apart so we can replace the cylinder head on this car. I could not find my clamp to do my valve job, so Andrew went to go get a clamp for me from Harbor Freight, and we're going to tear this thing apart and put it back together so he can go racing. Whoop whoop. First thing I'm going to do is pull this bar off, pull the OTE pipe off, take the throttle cable off, throttle body cover, disconnect the battery, and just start taking stuff off till I get down to the cylinder head. Because I don't have that clamp, I can't start rebuilding those valves and lapping those. I also need to jack the car up and get this wheel off of here and get at the crank. But let me drain the coolant first and start pulling stuff apart. There, very little oil in that piping. Very interesting concept on holding these fuel lines down under the cover. Look at there. Somebody took the bracket that's normally on the back end and they put it right there. That's a nice little change. A few things out of the way. I took the air filter guide out with the intake tube. The PTC was not plugged in. It's laying down here. We got two wires cut off here. Not sure what they were for. O2 wires are dangling around. Looks like the timing belt's got cracks in it. We're going to replace that. It's got the snap short shifter set and the IPD turbo control valve. That's got a loose connection. I wonder if that's leaking. See that connection loose there? So we'll tighten all that stuff up when we go back in. Alright, let's keep plugging away. Tearing it down. Took this mount out of this upper torque arm bracket, man. It is crumbling apart. I think I got a Volvo one for that. And I got the press with me, so we should be good to go. Looks like that vacuum line there that goes back to the fuel pressure regulator has been disconnected for quite some time. So I figure out how to get that connected back to the inlet intake tube. Looks like we got a tear in this tube going onto the throttle body as well. So I want to check, see if that's a NA throttle body. If so, I'll have to get a tube for that. Getting closer, people. We're going to pull that intake tube off of that throttle body. We're going to pull the intake off of the head. It's got the IPD phenolic spacer. We got the serpentine belt off. We got these fuel lines loose. I got to take them loose off the back so I get more slack. Then I take it loose from there. Then we can rip the exhaust manifold off, the intake manifold off, take the timing belt loose, start taking this head out. The fact that these has these screws here, that tells me this is a 6mm cylinder head, which I was actually hoping it had a 7mm head. I forgot it had an RN head on it. So I'm gonna have to go find me a valve if I can't find one with me. What a mess. Got the belt loose. As you can see, it has a lot of cracking in it. So this situation, you just replace it. So I'm gonna go ahead and replace it. And I got the intake ready to lift off. Then I'll get the exhaust bolts out. I think I'm gonna take a lunch break. Got that tube off. Gonna take a lunch break. Folks, I am back from lunch. Getting ready to pull that intake manifold off. Unscrew this exhaust. Move these fuel lines. Then I'll be ready to start unbolting this head. Screws out of the cam cover. Each corner had a different type of bolt in there. I don't know if it was helicoiled in all four corners. They were 11 mils, so we'll see. I just spreaded the cam cover off, getting ready to lift it off and snatch those head bolts out. I'm gonna lift that intake manifold off first. Got that cam cover off, and man, we got a lot of gooey, sludgy, gooey stuff. Probably because it was running rich. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and pull these cams out, take this intake manifold off, and break these head bolts loose. The cylinder head has solid lifters in it. You have to keep these in order. They're all different sizes. If you look down in there, you'll see this one in the number 2 position has the number 1612, and then I assume that's the part number down there. So this has to stay in there unless you change the valve out. But it's easier for you if you keep them in order. So I'm going to label this 2I all the way across to 10, and then I'll just number these 11 through 20, and I'll know their exhaust. And as you can see, this one says 1606, with a different part number. And this was in the very next hole, the number 3 lifter. Tap it, whatever you want to call it. So, got to keep these in order. Get all the head bolts loose. I'm going to lift them up and out of each one of these holes. Use my spreader. Pop the head loose from the block. Lift this up and move it out of the way. Try not to spill a bunch of oil in the process. I do have some oil absorbent material just in case, but I'd much rather not spill this oil. I'm also going to disconnect this coolant sensor from the harness. This is the head gasket that was on there. I guess it was one from a newer model car. Can't hardly see the writing on it. Maybe it says Rains, but it really didn't leave any material on the block. Pretty clean. So I assume this is the side that was on the block, and this is the side that was on the head. And like I said, there's very little evidence that it needs any cleanup in here on the block. Now, if you ever have coolant mixing in the oil, you definitely want to check your block for trueness. The blocks are a lot harder than the heads, so they really shouldn't. You can also check your exhaust manifold for trueness in case it's overheated. We're going to swap this exhaust manifold out for a HOWR exhaust manifold that we have here. Clean this up. We're also going to try to get a timing belt cover for this vehicle and put this stuff back together proper. He did a good job with the timing belt cover he did, but he didn't have one that covered the front of it. So we're going to look at this water pump, see if we should replace that. Tensioner, see if we need to replace that. And of course, we're going to replace this belt. There we are. And although this is almost up top dead center, it may already be on the mark. I didn't check it because I was pulling ahead. I was going to check it later, but hey, it may be set. I may not have to move it. See if we can tell what kind of water pump this is. No evidence that it's an Asian pump, so we're going to replace this pump. Probably going to replace this tensioner roller too. It looks pretty old, little cruddy. Let's see how it spins. Man, that thing is tight. I would leave that there. It seems nice and tight. This seems loose. I would replace that. Not sure what brand that is. And let me collapse that hydraulic tensioner, make sure it's good. Let's see if we get cross hatching in there. Lots of cross hatching in there. So that's good. Should have good compression. Alright, let's order some parts. We are cleaning it up, calling it a night. As Gilly says, laters.